Shalom Chaverim! Hello friends! It's so nice to be talking to you again via video. I feel like it has been far too long, but I wanted to fill you in vocally and not just via the written word on social media about something really exciting that's coming up. We have on Monday, June 20th, so this coming Monday, our first session of Chat and Nosh with Rabbi Josh, which rhymes, so it's going to be really exciting. My wife, the Rabettes and Megan, and myself will be talking. This coming week's topic is something obviously that's very relevant to our times. It's going to be gun violence and mental health in America. It's going to be a discussion, and I hope that you will come. If you are interested in coming, it's at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you can sign up. Let us know that you're going to be there. I really appreciate anything you can do in terms of including your thoughts, just listening, but I really want to make it a dynamic discussion. So whatever you can bring to the table, bring it, and also bring some food to the table. We're hopefully going to make the Nosh part a central part of the Chat and Nosh. So eventually maybe sharing some Jewish recipes will be something that we'll do. I know I could use some good recipes for myself. I am not a master in the kitchen as of now, but you never know. With that being said, check out my Facebook, check out my website, sign up. It's a sign up genius. It's really easy, user friendly. Come to Chat and Nosh with Rabbi Josh. It will be a good time. While I have you here though, I figured why not give a little drasha, a little Devar Torah. I've been reading this week's Torah portion, which is Behalotecha from the book of Numbers, Bamidbar. And, you know, Behalotecha is a parsha in the Torah that is so chock full, not that they all are not, but this one happens to be so chock full of just beautiful, amazing moments that could be talked about by themselves and stand alone, but you have to pick something sometimes and focus on that, and that's what I'm going to do today. But I wanted to discuss how I was struck this week, particularly for some reason beyond myself, by the guidance of the cloud. The cloud. Now, I don't mean the cloud where all of our cellular data and all those things go to. I don't know about that cloud. But the divine cloud that is talked about in this parsha, and also before in the book of Exodus or Shemot. This cloud was a guide. It remained over the tent of meeting in the wilderness. When this cloud moved, the people of Israel were to move. When this cloud rested and stopped, this is where the people of Israel were supposed to set up camp. I was thinking, and I wrote down some things here, so if you see me looking down, that's what I'm doing, is kind of gathering my thoughts. All of us that are watching this, whenever you're watching it, are going through some sort of struggle. It could be a physical struggle, an emotional struggle, spiritual. We've had troubling times. We'll talk about some of those troubling times on Monday. Hopefully give you some hope as well. Always hope. But it's no secret that we've been through hard times, and sometimes it's difficult to gather where God might fit in. Where does the divine fit in? What so happens in our Torah portion that a cloud was how God manifested as a protector and guide over the tabernacle and the people of Israel. So Bamidbar, or Numbers, tells us, and whenever the cloud was taken up from over the tent, Then after that, the children of Israel journeyed, and in the place where the cloud abode, there the children of Israel encamped. So like we talked about, the cloud moves, we move, the cloud stops, we stop. So the people of Israel had God in cloud form telling them when they should pack up and travel, and also when they should set up camp, a sort of ancient GPS system, right? Now this is not the first time we've heard of the cloud. We heard about it in Exodus. What's also interesting is that the Torah makes it clear that during the night, when clouds are generally not as visible, God manifested as fire. Perhaps a la the bush that Moses sees burning unconsumed when he encounters God in Midian. So the Talmud, always full of knowledge and so much wonder for us to explore and delve into, it expands on this, as it does on most things, and it tells us of glorious clouds that guided the people of Israel in the wilderness, raising the lowlands, lowering the highlands, and even killing dangerous animals such as scorpions and snakes on the road before the people of Israel. So this cloud was more than just a guide up in the sky. It was active in the lives of the people of Israel. So the Aggadic writings, or the non-legal writings, talk of a beam of light actually issuing from the cloud, perhaps sort of like lightning. This indicated the appropriate direction in which to journey next, so sort of like a laser beam telling us, let's go that way. How often do we wish that we could have such a vivid manifestation of this divinity in our own lives and our own experiences? Something as concrete as a laser beam or a cloud telling us what to do. So do we seek this sort of light and guidance of divinity from within ourselves, from outside of ourselves, from both? How do we experience the clarity of the cloud? Do we experience it in maybe the smiles of our children, our grandchildren, or whoever we hold dear? The warm company of a friend, maybe? Any other beautiful moment in your life where you experience this divine light, this guidance? Sometimes we can feel as if divinity is with us, a la Moses. God is communicating with us directly. We are in the right place, right? We know. So God said of Moses, with him, Moses, do I speak mouth to mouth. Mouth to mouth. Peh el peh, or face to face, panim el panim. Moses was said to speak to God in the most direct manner of all the prophets. No other prophet spoke more directly to God than Moses. Never actually seeing an image of God, but having the clearest communication. And other times we might feel as if we do not sense God's presence with us at all. So we can feel, yes, God is guiding me. I really notice it. It's clear. There's clarity in my life. Divinity is here, right with me. Peh el peh, panim el panim. Sometimes we can feel just the opposite. Where's God? What does all this mean? So even with the divine cloud guiding the way, clearing the path, and turning to fire by night, the people of Israel, who so often we can really sympathize with, right? They aren't perfect. Who's perfect? No human being, right? For lack of a more appropriate term, the people of Israel began to kvetch. They did. They complained about the food. They said, we don't like this manna anymore. They actually said, we have naught but this manna to look to. They went so far as to reflect upon their days of slavery in Egypt with longing. They said, we remember the fish, the cucumbers, and the melons, and the leeks, and the onions, and the garlic. Moses, he was overcome with this. He was overcome with the burden of the people and the constant complaining. Moses himself began to unravel a bit in this parsha. He said to God. He said, "Wherefore hast thou dealt ill with thy servant? Why did you do this to me? Wherefore have I not found favor in thy sight? Thou layest the burden of all this people upon thee." These kvetching people. So even in the holiest of times, amidst a direct line of communication with God, Moses has had it, right, with the people. He's questioning his prophetic role. So what do we take from this? A direct sign of God's presence and direction among the people of Israel still did not quell those very human feelings of unrest, of hunger, idealization of an enslaved past, jealousy. We see that later with Miriam and Aaron. Also anxiety. How much of this stemmed from anxiety? Parsha Behalotecha feels almost like a microcosm of life itself. There's so much in it. Perhaps there are moments when we, in our own lives, feel guided along by the divine presence. We can remain flexible and willing to do what we feel called to do. We see God in moments, in the beauty of our loved ones, that smile of a child, the hand on our shoulder. We also face many moments of frustration, uncertainty, even anger and fear. There are times when we might feel God peh el peh, and moments when we just feel hungry for the earthly meat of Mitzrayim or Egypt. We want to blend in sometimes. We just want to get by. Life, and sometimes particularly Jewish life, can seem chaotic, can seem troublesome, full of trials and tribulations. But at the end of Behalotecha, the Israelites do make their way from Sinai and set up camp in the wilderness of Paran. While toiling about day-to-day decisions, God is always present and guiding. Through all of these different emotions, God is there. After all the very human ordeals we talk about, the struggling with God, Israel, with one another, with those whose opinions differ from our own, God still leads the way from one place to the next, from one moment to another. We are human. We are imperfect. Sometimes we need to take a moment and let our own clouds guide us. It might be helpful to remember that even when we are busy being imperfect, the cloud of divine protection is always with us as the people of Israel, providing shelter from the elements of hatred, the elements of ignorance, the elements of anxiety, of fear, and guiding us along the way, stopping and starting. We can miss God's presence, especially if we are too busy looking down at earthly squabbles to notice. In the book of Numbers, we are told, we have said it before, Su'et Rosh, lift up the heads. Moses is told this. Perhaps we must find time to lift up our heads, to remain conscious of the divine cloud that guides us, of the Shekhinah that dwells among us. I pray that we are all blessed with safety, understanding, patience, and perspective, so that we might have more beautiful moments of peh el peh or panim el panim with one another and with our very own manifestation of the divine. And for those filled with anxiety, there is no denying that these are and have been very challenging times. We need to respect that. But it is well known that King Solomon himself used to wear a ring with 3 letters: Gimel, Zayin, and Yad. These 3 letters stand for 3 words: Gam ze ya'avor, or this too shall pass. Solomon, in all his wisdom, wanted to remind himself, Gam ze ya'avor, this too shall pass. So if you are going through something that you wish would pass, may it be so. Ken yehi ratzon. May we allow the divine clouds of our own lives to send us direction, comfort, and shelter as we navigate our own wilderness. I hope that you took something from that little tidbit, and I really look forward to seeing you. I hope you'll come on Monday at 5 o'clock p.m. And it's just so great to be in your presence. Thank you for taking the time to watch. And as always, more to come, Bezrat Hashem, God willing. Bye-bye now.